So there's a new Formula 1 movie coming out starring Brad Pitt. And if you don't know what the heck Formula 1 is, or if you're an OG fan, this video is for you. In this video, we're going to break down everything that the movie is about, the rumors, the truth, and what it's not about. If you're new to this channel, my name is Mars, and this is my channel, which is an F1 channel. So you're going to get the real perspective and the real analysis from an F1 fan. All right, first things first. If you're not a Formula 1 fan, let me explain the sport in simple terms. It's not just 20 cars racing around a racetrack. There's a lot of politics, drama, and this movie, as far as we've seen, goes much deeper into the drivers' lives, which is something that fans love to see. You've probably seen already some trailers or clips from this movie, and it's also very likely that you're familiar with the concept of Drive to Survive, which is a Netflix show that shows all the behind the scenes of what happens in the real life Formula 1. What it looks like so far is that they are trying to imitate this style, but make it with the Hollywood actor in a Hollywood budget by creating from scratch a Formula 1 team called Apex GP in the movie. And the most important thing here is that this is not green screen. They actually created this car, worked together with Mercedes, yes, the Mercedes that you see cars in the street, and the Formula 1 team to create something quite close to a real Formula 1 car. We know that Brad Pitt trained for months on a Formula 2 car, which is the lower divisions. They're slightly slower, but a great stepping platform to learn how to drive an actual Formula 1 car. And then when he was prepared, he got into the Formula 1 car. So far, I can tell you from somebody who's been watching Formula 1 for over 20 years is that this car looks legit and the racing looks very much real. We also know that they didn't fake these scenes, they didn't use CGI. They're actually racing with the real life drivers. The drivers that you're going to see in the movie, obviously, except from the two Apex GP drivers, all the other teams are going to be the real drivers in Formula 1, which is awesome. I have never seen this done in a movie before. Very realistic. And one of the main producers is also a 7-time world champion in Formula 1. His name is Lewis Hamilton. We also know that it's been directed by some of the directors of the Top Gun movie, a very well made and loved movie, acclaimed all over the world. We can see even in the trailer, which we're going to break down later on, lots of great action scenes and good detail with also a lot of good storytelling. It's not just racing, because let me be honest, if I wasn't a Formula 1 fan and I went to the movie theater and I'm just watching cars racing the whole time, it would be kind of boring and annoying, because movies are supposed to tell a story. You watch a movie like Cars and it's not just about racing, it's about following the story of Lightning McQueen. And of course, even though that movie is targeted for a younger audience, I'm expecting something quite similar coming from Hollywood, but applied to the Formula 1 world with Brad Pitt. Little snippets I've seen here and there shows that Brad Pitt is kind of like a failed driver, or somebody who didn't make it to the big leagues and then later on gets his renaissance era in Formula 1 with his new teammate who grew up in that Formula 1 world and is from Europe, the classic home of Formula 1. Now, what we know is that this film has direct approval from the FIA. If you're not familiar with the FIA is a regulatory body of Formula 1. It's what FIFA is to football or soccer. Another two facts that we know for sure is that this car was designed by real F1 engineers. Like I mentioned before, the Mercedes team worked hard on this car to make it look as real as possible, but keeping it safe for a movie. The final fact that we know for sure is that during the recording, this team was treated like a real Formula 1 team. They recorded extra scenes after races where they simulated a race with the real Formula 1 teams and drivers. So let's pause right here real quick and analyze this. As a fan myself, I think this is very exciting. I think this is gonna be legit and real. Looks promising. I haven't seen the movie. It's coming out in 5 days and I'm gonna be the first one out there watching it. But I can tell you that I've seen lots of Formula 1 content coming from Hollywood in the past or Netflix that doesn't reflect the reality of the sport. Of course, it's Hollywood. They have to tell a story. They have to make it a fairy tale with problem happening and then resolution and then a happy ending, which is more than cool. I expect this when I go watch a Hollywood movie. But what is really cool is that they kept it realistic. Now let's watch the trailer really quick to recap everything I've been talking about and analyze detail by detail what we know from the trailer. All right, so far very much real racing. We can see a Haas, which is a real F1 team. We can see the other Apex GP team car right here, very good view. And we get a point of view shot right here. And we can tell two things from this. One, It's very well done. The details are very good. What you see in the middle is called the halo. It's a real thing for safety in Formula 1. And yes, it bothers your view quite a bit. But when you're sitting in the car, it's not as bad because your eyes tend to block what's in front of it. Like if you put your finger in front of your eyes, after a while you don't see anymore, it does the same thing. But the other thing that we can see is that he's starting from what we call the back of the pack. So this is a team that's not performing well at all. They're on last place and second to last. All right, we see Sonny Hayes, the main character right here. He's racing in some kind of formula. I believe this is Daytona, if I'm not wrong. And we saw a Mercedes right there, and I think he's driving a Porsche. They see a guy who lives in a van. So we're getting the context. We see a guy who lives in a van, a gambling junkie, the classic Hollywood arc. We're starting with the underdog story, and then later on, he's going to get that Renaissance arc most likely. Yeah, this is Daytona for sure. The best that never was. This guy is going to be the one who gives him the chance most likely and changes future. This is that new arc that we were talking about. All right, now we're introduced to his teammate. He's a phenomenal driver, but he is young. And of course, what Sonny Hayes is going to offer here is that experience. What he's talking about here is actually something very commonly done in Formula 1, which is pairing up a rookie with an experienced driver, because that experienced driver will teach the rookie certain things and also secure the points while you work on the rookie for your future. All right, we get to see that most likely Sonny Hayes is a driver in some kind of endurance league, most likely. I saw some pretty good cars and in Daytona. That means he's in the big leagues, but for America. Now, Formula 1 is also the big leagues of motorsport, but worldwide. All right, this is actually, even though it's funny, it's a really good insight. Basically, his teammate has been in Formula 1, I guess for a while, maybe a season or two, but he's never won a race. So that's what they're joking about. Very good shots, very much realistic. These like airplane shows, you always see them before every race. It's very common in real life. All right, here we're seeing teammate rivalries. This is very common in Formula 1 because this is how you measure how good a driver is. Fans often do this. In Formula 1, no two teams are the same. It's not like NASCAR or IndyCar or Formula 2. What this means is that the only way to truly compare a driver without saying
it's because of his car
is to compare him to his teammate, because they're driving under the same machinery and same team. And because of this, many times teammate rivalries are even more fierce than against other teams. All right, classic beef between teammates. And let me be clear on this. Teammates don't hate each other. They're teammates. They work together. But they have these rivalries. Very good shots, very realistic. I like these action shots, real life teams. You can see real things that happen all the time in Formula 1. All right, now he's fighting the media and fighting the rumors, something very common across all sports for athletes. And now we can see him for the first time in this whole trailer leading the race in first place. So we started, if you pay attention to this, we started with him in last place and now he's first. So he is on his way to win a race, most likely in the movie. So this is that Renaissance arc that we were talking about.
Formula 1, the only place you could say if you win, you are the absolute best.
All right, two things we saw right here. First thing, let's analyze what he said. Very much true. Here's the thing, you can compete in any form of motorsport, and fans of other motorsports will tell you that their sport is the best, but overall the agreement is that Formula 1 is what's called the pinnacle of motorsport. So if you want to prove that you're the best driver in any kind of motorsport, you have to win in Formula 1. And that's what Sonny Hayes is set to do in this movie. Now, the other thing that caught my attention right away was this shot right here. This reminds me quite a bit of something that happened to a real F1 driver. It's a tragic story, but I hope they keep it realistic. In the real life case, it was Romain Grosjean. He actually walked out of the flames and it was insane. Everyone thought he was done for. But he became a legend in the sport because of this one accident. And as we can see, it happens most likely to one of the two drivers in the Apex GP team. And we see the other driver running to rescue his teammate. Something that actually used to happen quite a bit in Formula 1 back in the day. Today, because of safety standards, not so much, but I get it, it's Hollywood, and if they show a rivalry, they have to somehow at the end make amends and become friends, and it's probably going to be the reason why. All right, overall, this is my second time watching this trailer. Very much excited. If I was excited before, I'm even more excited now to watch this movie. All right, now let's talk about a topic that a lot of fans have been talking about, which is how is this going to impact the sport of Formula 1? I expect this movie to be a huge success, perhaps even bigger than Drive to Survive, because Drive to Survive created that foundation for new fans, and now that there's a bigger base, this is going to add to that. And we know how powerful social media and word of mouth is. I expect to see lots of clips from this movie I've already been seeing for months from the trailer alone. But when the movie comes out, I expect to see lots of clips on social media. And we know this is going to attract lots of new fans to the sport. Me personally, I've said this many times on this channel, I like seeing new fans come into the sport, even if they don't know what they're talking about. Because guess what? When we all came into the sport and started watching it, we didn't know what we were talking about. It's easy to criticize a new fan when you've been watching the sport for 2 decades. Please don't do that.
Stop it. Get some help.
Let's be nice and welcoming with all these people that are going to start watching the sport that we love. Because the reality is, like I said before, that you and I started just like them. The difference is we couldn't go on social media and say things that were wrong. Now here's the thing, whether you're a new fan or an old fan, or you've never seen Formula 1 in your life, you should go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I'm not just saying this in vain like every YouTuber does. The reason why is that this channel is very beginner friendly and hardcore fan friendly. I break down every race weekend, I tell you what the teams are doing, their strategy, why they're doing what they're doing, and also I break down what's going on in the Formula 1 world as a fan culture. Because what I always see from Formula 1 creators is the latter. But also I'm gonna have an F1 movie review dropping right after the movie comes out. Because like I said before, I'll be out there in the movie theater watching it, and then I'll tell you my thoughts, my real thoughts, whether it was good or bad. You know I don't lie here, I'm gonna tell you the facts. What was good about it, what was bad. So stay tuned, subscribe to this channel, and you can click right here to watch the next video that I created just for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.